Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. It's Al. I've got a Monday night showdown game for you between the Buffalo Bills visiting the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to take a look at the different correlations that we can go with. There's some very significant injuries in this game. Nothing brand new, just things that we've been dealing with for the past few weeks. So if you haven't really been playing very close attention to the Bills rosters or the 49ers rosters, things that you may have overlooked before you go into this slate. So I'm going to try and make you aware of those. And we're going to take a look at how we're going to build these things very basically in the Fantasy Labs Optimizer over there at fantasylabs.com. There's a link down below if you wanted to become a new member, right in the pinned comment. Go click it, give it a, go check it out. They support the stream, so support the people that support our channel over here and my channels on my end of things. If you wanted to go take a look at using an optimizer, as I've said before, it's never going to be as simple as just going to a site, looking at projections, hitting run 150 lineups, and then think that you're going to print money. That's not the way that it works. And a lot of people don't have the money to fire 150 times at the high stakes games, but the sites do have mini max games, 5 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents to find out if you are very possibly one of the next great mass multi-entry players that could be out there. We've had a lot of people in our community that have had success in those mini-max games, and they're fun to sweat. So like for a $15 entry fee, you've got 150 lineups on a showdown slate, and you have yourself a chance at maybe helping yourself to one of the top prizes. You're probably going to split it, but it's a nice way to get a good sweat for a good amount of money up top without having to really sweat a lot of money out of your pocket. So thank you for coming back. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, or leave a reply down below. Anything that you click helps out the channel a ton, more than you could even understand if you've never created content yourself. So thank you for being here. I appreciate every view, every like, every comment. I try to answer as many of them as I can. Obviously, I can't sit here replying all the time, but I try to at least say thank you to as many people as do reply. So without any further ado, let's get to the video. So here we are, taking a look at what we've got between Buffalo and San Francisco. The first thing that we always have to talk about are the injuries. So you have Raheem must start. He's back. So I guess we must start him, even though Buffalo is reputedly a good defense on the ground. They have not been anywhere close to what they've been before. They're still good on the perimeter, but the way that San Francisco runs their attack right now with their quarterback situation with Nick Mullins is they're not really attacking at all. So like Mostera's going to get his handle. Whether or not he can be efficient with it on the ground is another story. I do like that they've at least utilized him in the passing game this year as opposed to his usage last year, which was just non-existent with all the injuries that they've had. Obviously Garoppolo, Kittle, everybody else. And then now they've finally got DEEBO Samuel back, who last week against the Rams had 133 yards on 13 targets, the first player against the Rams this season to that point who had scored 20 points as a wide receiver. But like, he's not getting any air yards. He's got like negative air yards so far over the last 2 or 3 weeks. The last week. And then you look at the way that they've utilized their other wide receivers. They're not challenging down the field, and mostly because of their quarterback situation. So DEEBO Samuel can get it done on wide receiver screens and everything else like that. Same thing goes for Ayuk, who we assume gonna be back here, right? He's feeling fresh physically and mentally, so at least they'll have weapons on the outside in this game, although tough to deal with them with Tre'Davious White, and they're tougher against outside wide receivers are the Buffalo Bills than they are with the slot or with tight ends, but it's not like San Francisco can really do those things right now. And on the other side of the ball, the Buffalo Bills going to be without John Brown. And as a result of them being without John Brown the week before, when Gabriel Davis was minimum salary, he did catch a long touchdown pass, scored 16.9 points for what was the minimum salary. Now he's at 5.8K at flex on this showdown slate. We know that he's going to run a bunch of routes. We know that he's going to play a ton of snaps. The other fallout from that is Beasley is also going to get a lot of run here against San Francisco. And then it's just a matter of who else can get involved. There is like a $200 player down here, but he does not play a lot of snaps in Isaiah McKenzie. I think he played like 14 snaps out of the 60 something that the Bills played in their last game. Really did absolutely nothing against the Chargers in that game. I know that people are going to take a chance on him because at 200 in the flex, if he literally catches 2 balls, you're at a massive profit space. with McKenzie, and he's kind of a low ADOT sort of guy. The other way that people are looking to go with Buffalo is how many times this year have we just seen they march down the field? Steph Diggs is the absolute stud. He's doing ridiculous things this year, really benefiting from being in this offense. It's going to take more shots downfield because Josh Allen, that's what he does. He pushes the ball downfield, but then they get close, and then all of a sudden it's not Singletary, and it's not Moss, it's not Diggs, it's the random tight end Ferris wheel between Lee Smith and Tyler Croft at 1,800, and that's the captain spot. So 1,000, 1,200, Dawson Knox at 4K. The random tight end touchdown for the Bills seems to come through every week. So the first thing that we have to do is look at what we're going to do at captain, and as usual, the quarterbacks are going to be the ones that pop the most because quarterbacks are going to have the highest median projection on a week in, week out basis. However, quarterbacks have a very narrow band of scoring. I remember during the main slate today, I'm recording this on Sunday night, we were in Discord and people said in the first half of that game that Baker Mayfield, you're going to have Baker Mayfield or you're not going to win tournaments today. And I said, that's not necessarily the case because the band of quarterback scoring, they're just not going to run away from anybody. The quarterbacks rarely run away unless it's a situation like Matt Ryan where he throws for like 500 yards and 5 touchdowns and Julio caught like 3 of them for 200 something yards. The quarterbacks rarely run away from the field. So it was Darren Waller who ended up running away. It's always a position player who ends up running away from the field, where the second highest player at that position is 20 points behind the highest scoring player, and the 10th scoring player is way far behind the number 1 player. That just doesn't happen at quarterback, but they do have the highest median outcomes, so therefore they're going to pop the most. Now, when it comes down to showdown slates, quarterbacks win typically 15% of the time. 70% of the time it's a running back or a wide receiver that ends up as your winning captain on those teams. Doesn't mean things can't happen, it just means that they're less likely. So typically I'm going to limit over my 150 lineups that I'm going to end up with just one quarterback, 15% max of my quarterbacks are captain. But somebody like Josh Allen falls into that unicorn status that we talked about, guys that can do it with their legs, guys that have 35-point upside. Something that we've seen from Josh Allen way more this year than we saw last year. 36 points against the Rams, 37 points against Miami, 2 really tough defenses, 33 points against the Jets, 39 points against Seattle. So he's beaten up. He's not a schoolyard bully just picking on the weakest defenses. He's done it against a couple of really strong defenses as well. So the floor with his rushing yards, the upside with his rushing touchdowns, and the ceiling with his multiple touchdown possibility if he can strike on a couple of those deep downfield throws makes him a little bit more palatable to me at captain than a normal quarterback like his counterpart on the slate, Nick Mullins. So we're going to build 2 groups with those with either quarterback. The first group that I'm going to build with any quarterback is basically all of their pass catchers, anybody that I think is going to have a significant market share of targets for them on the day, and make sure, and I'm also going to include the kicker in that group. So wide receivers, tight ends, a serious pass catching running back I would also include in that group, but we just don't have those in this game. Make sure that I have 2 of those guys. You can include the smaller guys like Croft and Smith and McKenzie if you want in that group, and make sure you have at least 2 in every lineup that has Josh Allen at captain. We're going to build another group, and that's going to be the bring back group, because you can't have 6 of one and none of the other teams. So we're going to make sure if Josh Allen is the quarterback at captain, we're going to build it with every single offensive player on the opposing team that we think can bust a grape. Not going to use backup quarterbacks, not going to use the kickers either. We'll include Jordan Reed in that, as he's been good in the absence, 6 targets each of the last 2 games because there's just nobody else that's healthy. Always the possibility Jordan Reed can leave a game due to injury. It's also possible that he just has a 11 to 15 point game or a 3.8 point game like he had against the Rams. So big difference between his floor and his ceiling. The same's going to go for if we've got Beathard at captain, but I'm definitely going to limit my Beathard at captain spots because I want to limit the guys that can be my captain in Showdown. I have to believe that they can be the highest scoring player on the slate, unless there's a massive discount and a real path to profitability. Somebody like Richie James on these 49ers a few weeks ago, who put up like a 30-point game when everybody else was either injured or on COVID-19 reserve. So I'm not going to include the running backs in this. Sorry, Nick Mullins. Sorry. So as we put Mullins here in the captain spot, not Beathard, we're going to include Robbie Gould in that. I'm not going to include Mostert because, as we saw, he only has 2 targets a game pretty much expected, so he's not really tied to Mullins. I'm not going to exclude him because it is showdown, so it's a very good possibility that if Mullins was the type of guy who had a big game, as you see, he has not really had any big games where he could lead this slate in scoring. There's an off chance, but it's going to be small, so I'm probably going to limit him more. It's more likely that he peppers these guys with short targets, and they maybe can turn those into something, or Mostert has a 2 touchdown game and he turns into like a 25 or a 30 point game for him, and he's viable in the captain spot. But we're going to build the same groups. I'm just going to end up limiting him, and the same thing on the other side. If we build groups with any pass catchers at captain, somebody asked me, what am I going to do if I have somebody like Mostert at my captain spot? So a running back at captain, really not tied to anything. What groups would I build in an optimizer, or what rules would I make for myself if I was hand building? One, I would not allow the opposing defense. I would allow the same defense. I'm not really going to build a group. I'm probably more going to build rules. So I'd build a rule that says if Mostert captain is included in my lineup, do not include Buffalo's defense in that group. Same would go for Singletary. If you're going to include Zach Moss as your captain, which I don't really think very many people are going to do, same rule applies. Don't include the opposing defenses. They are very negatively correlated. The opposing defense, less negatively correlated with the quarterback, because a pick 6 just gives the ball back to the quarterback. So the defense can do well, and the quarterback can pile up 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns, and the defense can also score a touchdown or special teams. So defense not as negatively correlated against the quarterback as it is against the defense. So that would be the only groups I would build for running back. If I'm building pass catcher groups with DEEBO Samuel and captain, I am going to make sure that I pair Nick Mullins in those lineups. I may exclude it for a team like this, as he can go off. The pass catchers on San Francisco can go off more likely than if Steph Diggs has himself a really big day. If he has a 30-point DraftKings day, 100 yards receiving, 8 catches, a touchdown, maybe 2. If he's your captain, Josh Allen probably is also going to get dragged along for the ride. It's highly unlikely that Steph Diggs is going to get it done without Josh Allen getting it done. So if he's going to be your captain, I am going to include Josh Allen in that group as well. The last group that I'm going to build is going to be a flex group for defense and kickers, meaning that I'm not going to allow more than one of any of these guys in any group. This is definitely not a night that I want to kind of push that. You have to leave yourself spots, because you can't cover every base. And a lot of people think that if you're going to build 150, whether it's, by hand, or which I don't think anybody's doing anymore, or you're doing it in the mini max or the big tournament, like the $1 million tournament with, 100 or 250K up top. Well, what if you're going to put kicker captain? I don't include kicker at captain. If it's a night where a kicker ends up being the captain because they kicked 6 field goals and 2 of them from 50, that's just going to be a game I'm not going to win. I'm trying to eliminate, instead of saying I'm going to try and cover every base, I'm eliminating the highest or the lowest probability outcomes to give myself the highest probability of sharing or winning in solo that top prize. So I'm going to do different things with the lineup, but that's one that I'm not really willing to compromise on. And never check your lineups in the first 1 or 2 quarters of Showdown, because the people that play defenses start with 10 or 20 points in their lineup, and all your lineups are going to be grouped down at the bottom. Don't check until there's maybe 5 minutes left in the game, or at the beginning of the 4th quarter. Taking a look over at the Fantasy Labs Optimizer, we'll go over here. We'll click on settings. I've got my template made for Showdown already. As you can see, no kickers or defenses. I'll allow it to use or leave at least 10% of the salary cap on the table. I don't need to spend all the way up to the top like you would on a main slate. I will allow 5 players against an opposing defense. I will make sure that there's only 1 unique. You can change the shuffle based on how you want it to look. If you want less players, put it to 0. It'll go basically right off the projections that you're having it run, whether it's off the medium projection or the ceiling. I like to keep it somewhere around 10 usually, but I'll change it based on one showdown or another. And here's the 5 basic rules that we talked about before. For those of you who are hand building, here's how they'd look in an optimizer. Take your captain quarterback with at least 2 wide receivers, tight ends, or kickers from the same team. Captain quarterback paired with at least 1 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or tight end from the opponent. Pair your wide receiver, exactly one quarterback from the same team. Pair captain tight end with exactly one quarterback from the same team. And limit to at most one defense or kicker from the same game. Now, if I wanted to include only Buffalo in this rule, I could do that. And that would mean that if I have a captain wide receiver from San Francisco, they wouldn't necessarily be paired with their quarterback every single time that they were at that spot. So you can always adjust these rules as you would want. And then you can just hit apply settings, come over here, set the amount of lineups that you want to run 100, generate lineups, and it's going to spit out what it wants for us. And as I said, I'm going to run through this before I play on Monday night. I'm not just going to do this one time. I'm probably going to sit here and manicure my lineups a whole bunch, run this maybe 15 or 20 times, making different tweaks, boosting players in the projections with the flame emoji, or just changing their projection higher to make sure that I get more of them. If I don't think that it's giving me enough of somebody or giving me too much of somebody else, I might exclude them. I might snowflake them to make it give me less of them on the next run until I get the allocations that I want and the combinations that I want to make sure that I have the best chance of winning, or giving myself the best chance of winning the most money I can on Monday Night Showdown. So I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you very much for being here. Look out for another video right here.
He's a legend.